What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
Miller.
And we are back with an album review. So another one we had on our radar for the 6th of May was the newest offering from Swedish death metal act Demonical, Mass Destroyer. Again, this comes out on the 6th of May on Agonia or Agonia Records. I fuck up that pronunciation all the time.
I think it's Agonia.
I think it's one of the two. I'm 50-50 shot, right? This band formed in 2006 in Sweden by ex-members of Swedish death metal act Sentinix. This is their 7th full-length overall. I've been a fan since Death Infernal. I think that came out in like 2011. And this is straight up Swedish death metal, HM2 tones. Everyone on this channel knows I am a slut for HM2. And yeah, I'll get it if I hear that tone, because I'm a dirty little girl for that fucking tone.
And I have never heard these guys, so this was all new to me. I came in flying high, Nick was like, well,
I'm picky, but we'll get into that. Now, within their recent albums, they've sort of embraced a little bit more melodic death metal in their sound, so pretty much take Stockholm and tone and that big buzzsaw beefiness, but a little bit more like melodic death metal when it comes down to the actual riffing. And what you get is, I don't know, kind of a bridge between Gothenburg and Stockholm overall.
I love the tone of it. I dug it, and the guitars sound gnarly, and the drums sound good, they're punchy. And what you were saying, the riffing in this album is solid.
Yeah.
Really solid. And I love the changes and the dynamics that they have in the riff. Like in Fallen Mountain, the way they structure that riff, there's like notes that hit at every point here and there to accent these certain parts and really build on and make it, I don't know, it just sounds awesome.
I mean, when you're rocking that tone, like, it fills out the sound. Like, there is no escape from the HM2 tone. It will rattle the fillings in your skull.
Yeah, and especially when you got, like, what I'm saying, they're constructed riffs where the bass is doing, you know, all three of them are doing seamlessly different things, but certain notes, certain patterns or blocks of notes hit at the same time, and boom, boom, like little fireworks.
This opens up pretty strong, too, with a nice thrashy pace, too. Mm-hmm. The first two tracks, We Conquer the Throne and Sun Blackened, both kind of embody a thrashier sound on the riffs. Like, of course, all this stuff is, you know, attached to bands like Dismember, Bloodbath, Entombed, but also bands like Desultory in terms of like a thrashier approach to that HM2 tone. And then, of course, mix in like some early In Flames in terms of the melodies, and Hypocrisy because they do melodic death metal so fucking well.
I hear Arch Enemy just because I'm an Arch Enemy.
Yeah, there's tons of that. Like, and it's really blended together really well. Like, you get all the beef of the Stockholm sound, but all the melody of the Gothenburg sound. And these opening two tracks really kind of like set the pace, because a lot of this is, you know, more up-tempo and thrashy. The first two tracks, admittedly, hearing them back to back, you think, man, do you really want to put those two back to back? Because they're very similar. Like, the riffs are similar, they come in about the same way, and then you hear like a quick lead in the beginning too on both tracks.
The same style. And the only thing that changes is when they get into that really sweet Sabbathy like breakdown there, and it's like, man, this is crushing, because it's the only thing that's changed really.
Yeah. And between those two songs, that is probably the most different thing, is this breakdown. And the breakdown is really cool. The riff is, again, very Sabbathy, but played with, you know, Bloodbath guitar tone. And
it sounds as gross and awesome as it sounds.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome time to me. And, you know, vocally, very strong, very pronounced roar that is right up in front of the mix. And very well enunciated. Like, you can make out every word he's saying, and it's very authoritative. Like, it comes out with power, and I really dug that on here.
Yeah, he has great projection in his voice. And with that, sometimes doesn't come the clarity, but with him, the singer, it's clear. You can hear what he's saying. I love it. I dig this singer a lot.
Yeah.
And I love, too, in the vocals, he does these vocal layers that are really cool, like in Life Slave, which is probably my favorite song on the album, because it is the most diverse sounding, the most dynamic, and there are changes, and it's not just bop, 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 bop.
Slows it down halftime and just lets the fucking riffs carry it. It's a beast.
Absolutely. And in the bridge, I love how every piece of that bridge fits very well, and it serves its purpose, and it's a great, great bridge.
It's a longer song, too, at least for the album. Like, it's, I think, the closest one to 6 minutes. And they actually let the solo go on a few, like, bars longer. Like, most of the solos...
Rip it.
a little quick. It's a nice melody to just kind of complement the song. It's not too flashy. And that's, kind of a thing on this album. It is very much in the meat and potatoes sort of realm. I know we love to say that shit, but this is definitely Swedish meatballs and big Swedish potatoes. I don't know if you guys have potatoes. They have potatoes there.
Everyone has potatoes.
Everyone's got potatoes.
Yeah, this song is the longest one on here, but it doesn't feel long like in Fallen Mountain. That song is pretty long, and it kind of feels long.
It kind of hugs one main rhythm, which kind of brings us to an issue here. A lot of this does kind of hold on to one particular pattern. Like if it's a fast, thrashy song, it stays fast the entire time. So it's not like, all right, if you hear the verse, it's a fast, thrashy beat, it's fucking going. It doesn't break off at the chorus or a pre-chorus, and nothing to really break it up. It is like kind of a static beat throughout. Even on a bridge, it might actually stay that way. The only time it really broke off in terms of that formula on this album was probably that bridge on Sun Blackened.
Yeah, and you can hear in the guitars and everything the dynamics there. You can hear the changes at the guitars, but it's just that snare, bop, 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 bop. Doesn't matter what's going on.
Yep. And, I mean, granted, like, there aren't just fast, thrashy songs in here. Again, it does slow it up a little bit with Fallen Mountain and Life Slave. But a lot of songs, even when they change up the beat, they kind of just stick with that beat the entire time. So, yeah, you don't get the fast, thrashy one. You just get a different beat the entire time. Fallen Mountain kind of hugs this sort of mid-tempo, like Amon Amarth, sort of like triumphant, sort of Viking conquering something feel, but it stays there. It stays on this beat pretty much the entire time, and granted the guitars, the melodies carry it, but at the same time, like, again, half-time it like a little bit, or break into like a stompier, faster rhythm. It just kind of stays there, and it was like, man, I need this to change just ever so slightly because it's not holding my interest.
I think, too, maybe even just changing up the snare pattern just slightly. You can still keep the intensity and the speed in your playing and not be so on the one with the snare hit every time. Vary it a little bit in there. Hit the E-andas a little bit more than the ones and twos.
Even on a song like Raspon, which is a high-energy, D-beat, sort of sleazy, crust punk meets Swedish death metal song, it's a solid song. It's good. It ramps up the energy quite a bit, too, after Fallen Mountain. But it hugs on this D beat, and again, it doesn't break it down. Like, it becomes a static D beat, and it's like, man, even the best things, if they're played for too long, you kind of, like, get tired of it after a while. And that was kind of an issue on here. That and, well, even musically overall, not just the drums, this is kind of a very meat potatoes, kind of by-the-numbers album.
Which I like. That's a plus for me. Negative for him.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like one of those things. Like I've been listening to stuff like this for years, and this, I honestly I kind of thought about it to myself. If this had come out in mid 2000s, this would be something I would fucking absolutely adore 100% because that was the period of time where I was really getting into melodic death metal and Swedish death metal. Like first heard Entombed, first heard fucking Hypocrisy, Arch Enemy, all that shit. This fits so perfectly in that category, even down to the production too. Like this sounds like it should be on Nuclear Blast Records, but now you hear a lot of HM2 bands and they all kind of put their different spin on them. Like you got to review the new Sentient Horror. That is an HM2 band that kind of puts their own little spin on it, but it still stays, very much in that Dismember, Entombed, fucking Bloodbath bubble. This band kind of just plays it safe, and that was the thing that kind of just drove me nuts in this. Like, I was looking for, like, a kind of a crazier transition or, like, a frill, because this is definitely no frills death metal, but I could use, like, a frill or two. Just two frills. That's it.
Two frills.
Two frills. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, and for me, by the end, is the 7th, 8th song. It's just there.
Yeah, there's no surprises.
There's nothing there, but it's there. It's good, but it doesn't stand out in any way because of the driving beats that are consistent throughout. And it really just dives the whole album down. It brings it down a little bit, even though it's ramped up tempo-wise, but it ends up being background.
By the last couple of tracks, which are Cemented in Ire and By Hatred Bound, these are things you've kind of already heard on this album. And this album's relatively short. It's like just a little bit over 34 minutes. And My Hatred Bound kind of goes back again to that early Melodeath sound. Like the riff on it, it sounds a lot like an In Flames riff from like Jester Race era, and I can't think of which one it sounds like, but it definitely sounds like one. And Cemented in Ire, well, it's like a fast, energetic track. There are other fast, energetic tracks that I think do it a little bit better, like Dodd's March, I think is a pretty solid song. But at the same time, when it comes down to like breaking those apart from the other fast, thrashy songs, they're very similar.
Yeah.
And very repetitive. So if there's a riff you like, don't worry, you're going to hear it a lot. And if there's a riff you don't like, well, you're going to hear it a bit too. But overall, I mean, this was, I would say, just kind of a good album. And there's really nothing wrong with that. Like, not every album is going to be great. That is just statistically impossible, even in a sea of opinions. But having a good album is still pretty good. So overall, I'm going to give this 3 stars. I like it. It is rooted to shit that I love, that I grew up on, that I cut my teeth on. It just needs a little bit more. Like, Meat and Potatoes is great. This is just with a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper and then a whole spice cabinet completely ignored in the house. There's just so much room to actually do more, especially with the really cool riffing on here. And I like the mix of, again, melodic death metal and straight up Swedish death metal. They work well together, probably because they're both Swedish and they're kind of close to one another. But yeah, if you like Swedish death metal and you like melodic death metal, this is a pretty happy marriage of the two. And I mean, this would be pretty easy to get into if you're just getting into like HM2 death metal too. Like, this is pretty damn accessible. So yeah, check it out.
I'm going to go 3.5 out of 5. I liked it a little more. It's Meat and Potatoes. I like that. I love the singer. I dig that dude.
Dude, good roar. Good fucking roar.
And the guitars have variation and stuff. The drums, I can hear pockets where there could be some variation in there. The dude is solid as hell and has great fills. Just do more. Do more of them. You're good. You're good at it. Do it more.
You can hear, like I said, in the songs, you can hear room to do a little bit more. But, I mean, he's a good rhythm keeper.
Yeah, and it is a challenge to maintain intensity and be in your category and change that so it's not the same thing. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And I dug this album. I dug it. 3.5 out of 5 is a great rating for me. But if there was a little more dynamic in percussion, I think this would totally change the album.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We're also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there'll be a link down below. We are going to do a newer segment on there, probably after MDF. We want to get the Patreon community going and give you guys something fun to potentially torture us with, but it'll all be in good spirits. Also, there was a link down there to thrallsmetal.com where you can order one of our kick-ass shirts if you'd like. And as for future things with Thralls, well, tons more reviews, Exodus ranking, MDF is gonna drain our bank accounts more than likely.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to seeing all of you people that are actually going, like, come up, say hi to us, tell us we're cool, or we suck,
or not.
Either one, it's cool. We just want to fucking hang out with the metal community, and, this might be the last MDF, so, yeah, make the most of it.
And if it is the last MDF, then we have, fortunately, our own little shindig to look forward to. The Thralls of Metal, Swinging News Productions, Denver Death Fest. We're looking for bands. Go to denverdeathfest.com. Submit. We want to hear from you. Bring us your music. We want to go through it. And maybe you'll get a slot.
You know how much we hate going through music. It's literally the worst fucking thing ever. God.
It's rough.
Yeah, 7 more collection updates on their way anyway.
Each with 50 fucking CDs.
I'm just gonna cut my ears off and throw them in the fucking river.
It's the Ken Burns edition of Nick's Necrotic Nick's collection update.
And here we are on day 56 of listening to death metal. Oh my god. But yeah.
So if you want more of that, hit subscribe. But thank you, everybody, again, for making this train go the way it is going. Big things in the future. We look forward to everything.
And we will catch you later.